779,000 people filed for the first time for unemployment benefits in the latest week. And they're under the pandemic programs, another 348,000 filed. So that's 1.1 million people who lost work in the most recent week filing for unemployment benefits. It just shows you the layoffs are continuing as the virus rages in this country. John, this is 46 weeks in a row. I have sat here at 8:30 Eastern time on a Thursday morning and reported to you the depths of the crisis in the jobs market. Overall, people with at least 2 weeks of unemployment benefits, 4.5 million. Taken all together, all the people who are getting unemployment benefits, 17.8 million. The Treasury Secretary this morning saying that essentially we need to get back to jobs. And if people don't have jobs to pay their bills, we have to find support for those people to pay their bills. This is the backbone of the economy. Earlier this week, John, we learned that the Congressional Budget Office, the CBO, thinks the U.S. economy will get back to pre-pandemic size by the summer. You won't get back to those jobs, Allison, back to pre-pandemic jobs till sometime in 2024.
Oh, for God's sake.
There is an unless that goes after that. That was yesterday's jobs report. Today, we actually found out, even more. This is pretty pathetic. This is the last jobs report for, the backward era.
A job gain of 49,000 in January after a big loss that was even revised lower in December, and an unemployment rate that fell to 6.3%. On paper, that's the lowest unemployment rate of this crisis. But when you dig beneath these numbers, we've seen month after month of people leaving the labor force. You look at some of the other indicators in this report, 6.3% is because so many people just aren't working. There are millions who are reporting that they can't go to work because their business is closed or business is down so much that there aren't hours for them to have here. 2.7 million of these jobs are considered temporary layoffs when you look at the labor market right now, and even more of them are considered permanent layoffs. About 3.5 million people report to the government that they think they've been permanently laid off at this time. When you look at where the job losses are, no surprise, in bars and restaurants, in retail trade. This is the part of the K-shaped recovery we've been talking about, these jobs that are just disappearing and don't seem to be coming back. But we are seeing job gains in professional and business services, in schools, in mining. So some parts of the economy are showing signs of life. Some parts of the job market are recovering, and others are just hopelessly here falling behind because the virus has kept the U.S. economy so out of sorts. Overall, because of downward revisions in November and December, it was worse in November and December than the government originally thought. You have 9.9 million jobs that are still have been lost since this pandemic began.
That is unbelievable. What a devastated economy. And it's always like this, isn't it? It's always like this. Happy Friday, you bastards. But it's always like this. It's always, we have to come in and clean up after the elephant poops all over the place, right? And last night at 5:30 in the morning, in the wee hours of the morning, oh yes, Democrats are working at 5:30 in the morning. In the morning, we are working. They had, last night, they had to first, because the Senate is cumbersome, you understand. Let me explain. So let's look at the Senate's procedures real quick. All right, the Senate has to first approve using reconciliation, budget reconciliation, as the means to pass the relief bill. So that's what happened last night, okay? The decision was made to use reconciliation as a means to vote on the relief bill. And the Republicans, of course, stood in the way. They introduced 45 amendments. It took 14 hours to get through all of the debate that is required in a bipartisan way to get through it. And then at the end of all that debate, 50-50 is what it was. 50-50 at 5:30 in the morning. Kamala had to come in and cast the tie-breaking vote. 5:30.
On this vote, the yeas are 50, the nays are 50. The Senate being equally divided, the Vice President votes in the affirmative, and the concurrent resolution as amended is adopted.
Tired golf applause is what that is. That is exhausted golf applause, right? I mean, yes, Democrats do stuff at 5:30 in the morning. So Kamala Harris cast the deciding vote. Get used to that. Get used to that phrase. That is going to be probably one of the most used phrases in all of journalism in the year 2021. Seriously. Now, after this bill passed, the Republicans complained. Why? Because they're Republicans. And that's all they do is complain. They have no ideas. They have no way of solving a pandemic. They have no way of even telling the American people, we have a pandemic and here's what you need to do. They talk about self-reliance and self-governing. They didn't even give you the right information about how to be self-reliant and get through this. But no. So after the bill passed, the Republicans complained because they're Republicans. And they complained about partisanship and excessive spending. Now, we just have 4 years of excessive partisanship and excessive spending, except they spent on crap that did not do one thing to solve this pandemic, did not do one thing to educate the American people about what to do in the pandemic or give people the tools they needed to battle this. No, just excessive spending on things like border walls and, they're fences, replacement fencing, and, just screaming about how they spent all this money on military, right? So that was the Trump administration. Excessive partisanship, where all they did, this is crazy. All they accomplished was they used budget reconciliation in the first minute of Donald Trump's presidency to pass a ridiculously expensive tax cut for the wealthiest Americans, which did nothing for anybody, didn't help GDP, didn't help productivity, didn't do anything for us. Okay, but they used reconciliation, just so you know, and passed a tax cut and then decided, let's use the Senate for judicial appointments and nothing else. So it was just 4 years of partisanship and crap, okay? But you know who you need to thank for the ability to get something passed last night? And all that was passed last night, just be clear, is what procedure they're going to use in order to get a relief package voted on and out the door. They chose budget reconciliation last night. That's what that vote was, okay? So that was paving the way for a $1.9 trillion stimulus package to be introduced on the Senate floor at a later date. Okay, just so you understand. Why? Why later? Because it's not written yet. Because the Republicans got some amendments last night. They actually prevailed on some amendments with help from Democrats. Joe Manchin and Joni Ernst from Iowa, the one that likes to castrate pigs in her, downtime. Like some women go get their nails done. Other women, they paint, garden, read. She castrates pigs. That's her little hobby. Anyway, her and Manchin teamed up and got rid of the $15 an hour minimum wage. That was very bipartisan. Yeah. So now they have to write the damn bill. They have to actually write it. And that's going to take probably till the second week in March to get that written, because the Republicans kept on trying to obstruct it, and with the help of Kirsten Sinema, Democrat, and Joe Manchin, Democrat, they were able to get some amendments through. And so now they have to write it up. And that's why it takes so much time. But you know who you really have to thank? Thank the voters of Georgia. Seriously, because if we had Loeffler and Perdue to deal with last night, the headlines would have been bad.